The year is 1945. High above the clouds, a silver behemoth, a monument to American industrial might, slices through the thin air. It is a plane that seems to defy the very physics of its time. This isn't just a bomber. It's a floating fortress of aluminum and steel, packed with enough computing power to control its own destiny. Its purpose is singular. Its mission is global, and its legacy is tied to the most dramatic climax of the Second World War. This is the B-29 Superfortress. Its story is one of impossible engineering, immense sacrifice, and a profound, controversial impact on the course of human history. The genesis of the B-29 was rooted in the strategic foresight of the U.S. Army Air Corps. As the world lurched toward war in the late 1930s, they realized their existing fleet of bombers lacked the intercontinental range necessary for global conflict. They issued a request for a bomber that was nothing short of a dream: a 5,000 miles, a payload of 20,000 pounds, and a blistering top speed of over 400 miles per hour. Boeing's design, the Model 345, was audacious. It was a high-risk, high-reward bet on unproven technology. This wasn't just about building an airplane. It was about inventing a new kind of aerial warfare. The sheer scale of the project was staggering. The B-29 program would ultimately cost over $3 billion, the equivalent of over $40 billion today, making it the most expensive project of the entire war. To produce it, the U.S. government established a vast industrial network of 4 massive assembly plants in Wichita, Kansas, Renton, Washington, Marietta, Georgia, and Omaha, Nebraska. Over 3,900 of these metal giants were built, each containing over 1.5 million individual parts. This industrial effort was a war within the war itself, mobilizing an army of workers, including tens of thousands of women, who stepped onto the factory floor for the first time. The Super in Superfortress wasn't just a name. It was a reflection of the aircraft's revolutionary design. At its heart, the B-29's airframe was a marvel of stressed skin construction, with a semi-monocoque fuselage that was both incredibly strong and surprisingly lightweight. Its most significant leap was the pressurized cabin. Unlike other bombers where crews endured freezing temperatures and relied on cumbersome oxygen masks, the B-29's cockpit, bombardier station, and rear gunner's area were pressurized. This allowed the 11-man crew to operate in relative comfort at altitudes up to 30,000 feet, far above the reach of most enemy fighters and flak. Its power came from 4 massive Wright R3350 engines. These 18-cylinder radial engines, each generating over 2,200 horsepower, were a testament to brute force. However, they were also the plane's most dangerous flaw, notorious for overheating and catching fire due to a combination of design issues and a high-octane fuel that ran hotter than expected. Countless hours were spent by ground crews trying to solve these bugs, earning the aircraft the nickname the billion-dollar blunder in its early days. Finally, the B-29's defensive system was a quantum leap forward. Its General Electric Central Fire Control System used analog computers to allow a single gunner to control multiple remote-controlled turrets across the plane. This system used gyroscopes and resolvers to calculate the correct lead angle for the guns, making it incredibly accurate and allowing the gunner to fire from a safe, pressurized environment. The B-29's bomb load was also impressive. Its two large bomb bays could carry up to 20,000 pounds of ordnance, from standard high-explosive bombs to the incendiaries that would later define its campaign. The B-29's first combat missions were from bases in China, a campaign known as Operation Matterhorn. It was a logistical nightmare. Every drop of fuel, every bomb, and every part had to be flown over the perilous Himalayan mountains from India, an incredibly dangerous journey known as flying the hump. The raids were difficult and largely ineffective, but they provided invaluable lessons about high-altitude bombing and the need for a closer staging ground. That opportunity came with the capture of the Marianas Islands, Saipan, Guam, and Tinian. These tiny islands became massive, unsinkable aircraft carriers, just 1,500 miles from Tokyo. From here, the B-29S could finally unleash their full potential. The first raid from the Marianas was a shock to the Japanese, who had never seen a bomber capable of reaching them from so far away. High-altitude precision bombing proved futile. The jet stream and persistent cloud cover made accurate bombing nearly impossible. Under the command of the brilliant yet ruthless General Curtis LeMay, a new, brutal strategy was implemented. LeMay ordered the B-29SC to fly at low altitude at night and to use incendiary bombs to burn out Japan's industrial capacity, which was largely decentralized in its densely packed wooden cities. The B-29S were stripped of their heavy defensive machine guns and ammunition to carry a larger payload of bombs. The March 9, 1945, raid on Tokyo became the single deadliest air raid in history. The firebombing created a firestorm that consumed everything in its path, leveling 16 square miles of the city and killing over 100,000 people. This relentless campaign of firebombing turned the B-29 into a terrifying instrument of urban destruction. The B-29's final, most infamous mission was a secret within a secret. It was the only aircraft capable of carrying the world's first atomic bombs. A special unit, the 509th Composite Group, was created to handle this ultimate payload. The B-29S for this mission were specially modified for the task, with strengthened bomb bay doors and a stripped-down interior to reduce weight. On August 6, 1945, a B-29 named the Enola Gay, piloted by Colonel Paul Tibbets, took off from Tinian with a single bomb in its belly. Its target was Hiroshima. The bomb, codenamed Little Boy, was a weapon of unthinkable power. 3 days later, another B-29, Boxcar, dropped Fat Man on Nagasaki. The B-29 was no longer just a bomber. It had become the harbinger of a new age, the final arbiter of total war. These two missions brought the Pacific War to a swift and brutal end, forever linking the B-29 to the dawn of the nuclear age. The end of the war was not the end of the B-29 story. It was a pivotal aircraft in the early years of the Cold War and served as the primary strategic bomber for the newly formed U.S. Air Force. B-29S were even deployed in the Korean War. The B-29's legacy also lives on in its role as a testbed for the future. It was used as a mothership to carry experimental aircraft like the Bell X-1, helping to push the boundaries of aviation and eventually breaking the sound barrier. Today, only 2 B-29S are still airworthy, Fifi and Doc, serving as living reminders of a machine that was both a marvel of engineering and an agent of unimaginable power. The B-29 Superfortress remains a compelling and controversial part of history, a symbol of the industrial might that won a war and the terrifying power that ushered in a new age.